Hey guys, welcome to another New World video. In this video I'll be covering everything that I think you need to know about cooking, how to level it, where to get the materials to level it, and why it's important to have it. So let's get into it. A few things to consider when gathering ingredients for the cooking profession are your build, the tools you use, and a few other small things. None of these things are mandatory, but if you want to maximize the possible potential amount of items that you can gather in a period of time, these are some things to think about. First of all, the attributes. You're going to want to go to the 5th perk in intelligence if you're gathering crops and you want to maximize your gather potential, because at the 1st perk you get a 10% harvesting speed, which allows you to harvest crops quicker. At the 2nd perk you get a 1 Azoth when harvesting chance. At the 3rd perk, you get a minus 10% decrease in weight of harvested items so that you can carry more before having to return to town. Then at the 4th, you get an additional 10% harvesting speed, bringing us up to 20%. And then at the 5th, you receive a plus 10% yield increase when harvesting. So that's going to be good. Now, if you're going to go the route of collecting meat by skinning, you're going to want to spec alternatively into dexterity. The same idea, a 10% skinning speed, a 20% haste after skinning so that you can get to the next animal quicker and kill it, a 10% decrease in weight of skinned items, and a 10% skinning speed again, bringing us up to 20%, and a 10% yield increase when skinning for your meat. Also, your tools are going to be very important. So what you're going to be looking for when you craft or purchase tools is things like a harvesting yield increase. So you get an additional 15% more resources on top of your attribute bonus, bringing us up to 25% more. You're also going to want to look for harvesting luck so that you can pull more rare items, especially from skinning, because that will help with the later training for cooking, which we'll get into later. And it's always nice to have the Azoth extraction so that you are generating Azoth for yourself, because we all know how much of a pain it is walking everywhere because we're out of Azoth. Another really good thing to have are common proficiency boosters, or better, like just proficiency boosters in general. So that's an additional 7%. So you can see how this all starts to add together and increases the amount of ingredients you can gather in a shorter period of time. I also like to get gear whenever I'm specifically gathering for cooking that has harvest luck on it wherever possible, so that while I'm gathering I can also be getting some of those rare materials that I'm going to be needing later for other professions or for cooking. Again, none of these things are necessary. They simply are bonuses where if you want to maximize your potential gathering. So before we can start leveling our cooking profession, we're going to be needing ingredients. So assuming that you haven't started training your crafting profession and you do not have the resources to purchase everything off of the market, or have a company that is going to supply you as their cook with all of the ingredients you're going to need to train, and you're just a regular Joe player that's leveling on their own, I'm going to give you a shopping list for the things that you're going to need to get you all the way from 1 to 200 cooking. So we're going to begin with, we need 144 carrots, 1,323 honey, 276 potatoes, 1,179 blueberries, 395 broccoli, 903 pork, 508 coconuts or tomatoes or any tier 5 food, and 508 cabbage. Now this list is going to seem daunting at first, but when I explain to you the route that I used when I trained cooking, you'll see how quickly it starts to begin to add up and how quickly you'll gather these ingredients. If you give yourself a solid hour and a half to 2 hour window where you're going to do nothing but gather, and you're going to set your mind to this, you will have more than enough time to finish this completely. So first we're going to look at our route. We're going to begin outside of Windsward at Cooper's Ranch. At this location, you're going to find a lot of carrot patches, which you're going to want to pick all of. And you're going to find a bunch of blueberry patches, which you're going to pick all of. So after you've picked everything there, you're going to head down to Meryl's place. This location, you're going to find your cabbages, your potatoes, your blueberries, and your carrots. And also at this location, you're going to find a provisions crate, which you're going to want to collect because in Windward Zone, you have the chance of finding coconuts and other materials that you're going to need. Then from Meryl's place, you're going to head down to Willette's homestead. Now at this location, you're going to find carrots and your broccoli and some blueberry patches. But also before leaving this location, after picking all of those, you're going to want to circle around the outskirts of it and collect all of the honey trees, because the honey trees give a significant amount of honey per collection, and there are very many of them here. So get all of those as well that you can. Then from Willette's place, we're going to jump and head across the water and go over to Aruda Ranch. Here you'll find potatoes, many potatoes, and a few carrot patches. Pick all of those. Then from Aruda's Ranch, you're going to head straight up to Tres Campos, and you're going to hit the carrot patches there, and there are some blueberry patches, but there are also 2 more provision crates, which you're going to hit those. Then head up after you're finished there to the Fong family orchard, and you're going to find a whole bunch of broccoli patches there again, and a couple of blueberry patches. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. Then from the Fong family orchard, head straight up to Farside Township and hit all the carrot patches and the I don't know why I had trouble saying that. The cabbage patches. And then from there, you're going to come all the way back to Cooper's Ranch and start the rotation again. By the time that you've completed one single route around and get back to Cooper's Ranch, you'll see that everything will be respawned and you can start the whole process again. If you do this circle over and over again and continue to gather everything at every location, you're going to have the materials on your list in no time. Now that you've done your gathering and you've got all your materials together and ready to go, it's time to start leveling. So one tip here is you're not going to want to level inside of the city at the kitchens, because we're going to be making rations to level because they're the most cost efficient, and you don't want to have to pay the taxes because we're going to be creating a lot of them. So the best option here is to use your camp, or if you look around the outskirts of any settlement, you're going to find various camps that other people have set up. So you'll have access, even if you can't create it, to tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 camps. So from cooking 1 to 50, you're going to be wanting to make travel rations or energized travel rations, whichever you might need. Although it doesn't really matter at this stage. You're going to want to make 144 of these. If you had followed the gather guide that I had given you earlier, you'll want to use 144 carrots and 144 honey in the drop-down menus, and then create 144. From 50 to 100, we're going to be making 276 light meals. Now, using the shopping list I'd given you earlier as a reference, the most optimal way to create these would be 276 potatoes, 276 honey, and 276 blueberries. From 100 to 150, we're going to be making 395 satisfying meals. This is going to require your broccoli that you had gathered, so you'll be using broccoli as the primary ingredient, then 395 honey, and 395 blueberries, and 395 pork. From 150 to 200 is where it's going to get a little bit more difficult, but if you had followed the route and hit all the provision crates, you should be almost there. We're going to be wanting to use coconuts or tomatoes or any other tier 5 food that we had gathered from provision crates. Then we're going to want to use 508 pork, 508 blueberries, 508 cabbage, 508 honey as the seasoning. Do not make the mistake I made and think automatically that seasoning means that it has to be a herb, and then you gather 508 herbs and blow them all making these. I almost did until I noticed that if you don't place honey as one of the other ingredients, the game actually sees honey as a seasoning, so you can save your herbs and just use honey here as a seasoning, which will save you a lot of resources. The most difficult part of this entire process is going to be the tier 5 cooking ingredients, but they come very quickly as long as you make sure to be hitting all of the provision crates that you see. I also wanted to mention the pork ingredient. I forgot to mention when I was laying out the route and the shopping list. As we all know, everybody is, I don't know if it's exploiting or taking advantage of, or whatever the case may be and what you want to call it, the pig farming. So I won't get into exactly what the pig farming is, but I'm sure we're all aware of it. There's 100 videos on YouTube about it. So pork right now on the trading post is almost free. It's like 0.01 gold per pork. So the most optimal way here would be just to do a quest and buy the 903 pork that you're going to require. It will cost you nothing. If you like, you could farm another ingredient, like mushrooms are really easy to get, but I would say go with pork because of the cost effectiveness of it right now. So now that you've maximized your cooking, what should you make? Well, there are 5 main categories of foods you can create with cooking. First, we have recovery foods. Recovery foods are used to recover both health and mana, as I said earlier. The nice thing about recovery foods is you'll have access to all tiers of recovery foods throughout the game. The next category I'd like to look at is attribute foods. We can create strength foods, dexterity foods, intelligence foods, focus foods, and constitution foods. Within each category, you have mixed stat foods, so strength plus constitution, or strength plus intelligence, or dexterity plus focus. Whatever mix you're looking for will be also available within each category, with the main stat, like the first stat, being the one in the category it's from. So if you're looking under the strength foods options and you're looking for a combination food, it will be plus strength and then a lesser amount of plus a secondary stat. By default, you will only have access to tier 2 attribute recipes. So if you want to have the tier 3 and tier 4 and tier 5 attribute recipes, like the turkey breast with cranberry glaze here, you're going to have to go out and find it from provision crates. The next category is the trade skill foods. You can create foods for both gathering and crafting. For each gathering profession, there is a food that offers a bonus to luck respectively. The food for crafting is a little bit different. It increases both the minimum and maximum potential gear score of the item that you're going to craft. And then the last section is the components. These are just refined food ingredients, like you can use your wheat to create flour, you can refine your milk to make butter or cheese mixed with yeast, like basically just prepping ingredients for more complicated meals. Another thing that cooks can make at their camp is fishing bait. This can come in really handy if you're out fishing and you set up your camp and you run out of bait. You can just run over and craft a few more. And then, as I mentioned before, cooks are also primarily responsible for making all of the dyes. So if you had a company that wanted to wear all of the same colored jackets, or you just wanted to customize or personalize your gear further, with the cooking profession you can create a vast array of colors that you could potentially dye your gear. There are a lot of cooking ingredients in New World that you'll have to keep track of, and it can get to be a little bit overwhelming at first. And there's a lot of different ways that you can go about getting these ingredients. You can get them from fishing, skinning, harvesting crops from farms. Spices are a little bit different, and they come from the herb plants you'll find scattered around the world in New World. And the herbs that they will yield will be zone specific. You can also receive a lot of rare ingredients only from provision crates. They don't naturally grow around the world, like oranges, coconuts, apples, for example. Now I'm quickly going to go over the zones and what foods come from those zones specifically. From First Light, from the provision crates, you're going to have a chance at getting cauliflower, milk, onions, and melons. The spices that you can get from the herb plants in First Light are cinnamon, dill, saffron, and nutmeg. In Cutlass Keys, the provision crates offer milk, onion, orange, and tomato. The spices that are available from the herb plants in Cutlass Keys are cinnamon, parsley, and peppercorn. In Monarch's Bluff, the provision crates offer a chance at milk, rice, yeast, and tomatoes. And the spices available from herbs in this region are peppercorns, oregano, and paprika. In Shattered Mountain, the food from provision crates that you could potentially get will be milk, rice, and yeast. The spices available from the herb plants in Shattered Mountain are oregano and paprika. In the Great Cleave, the provision crates offer lemon, melon, and milk. The spices available from herb plants in this region are garlic, nutmeg, and rosemary. In Eden Grove, the provision crates offer a chance at cauliflower, milk, onion, and oranges. And the spices available from herb plants in this region are cinnamon, parsley, and dill. In Morningdale, the provision crates offer a chance at cauliflower, milk, oranges, and tomatoes. And the spices available from herb plants in this region are dill, parsley, peppercorn, and saffron. In Restless Shore, the provision crates offer milk, coconut, lemon, and rice. And the spices available from herb plants in this region are rosemary, oregano, and mint. In Weaver's Fen, the provision crates offer coconut, lemon, melon, and milk, and the spices available from the herb plants in this region are mint, nutmeg, and rosemary. In Brightwood, available from the provision crates are apples, milk, salt, and yeast, and the spices available from herb plants in this region are basil, paprika, saffron, sage, and tarragon. In Ebonscale Reach, available from provision crates is milk, string beans, and sugar, and the spices available from herb plants in this region are ginger and thyme. In Reekwater, available from provision crates is apples, milk, string beans, and sugar, and the spices available from herb plants in this region are ginger, sage, tarragon, and thyme. In Everfall, available from provision crates is milk, salt, and string beans, and the spices available from herb plants in this region are basil, garlic, and sage. In Windsward, the spices and cooking ingredients available from provision crates are coconuts, milk, and sugar, and the spices available from herb plants are ginger, mint, and thyme.